A very warm welcome. You are tuned to the Week in Focus right here on Look Up TV. And we've had a pretty interesting week with very many events happening, starting off from the Judicial Service Commission nominating Martha Koome for Chief Justice. And now it's up to the president, and we'll see how it goes. And our reporter Brian was out in the streets just to take views from people on a woman being the next Chief Justice for Kenya. This is what they had to say.
With over 30 years in the corridors of justice, Lady Justice Martha Koome walked into the JSC panel as one of the 10 candidates aspiring to be Kenya's next Chief Justice, succeeding David Maraga, making history as the only female judge to ever be nominated for Chief Justice positions. Kenyans are hoping for a different turn of events in the corridors of justice.
Tunatarajia ataendeleza pale mali Maraga aliwachia. Kwa hivyo sana ile kitu yenye ningependa sana angalie ni mambo kama yani zile double standards, ambapo pengine wale tuseme wale politicians ama watu kama hawa, yani sheria isikuwe ni wanyonge tu wanasafa ile fair justice system, lakini ilhali kuna wengine kidogo inakuwa lenient kwao.
Mimi nimesikia vizuri, nimeona ni vyema huyo mama kuchaguliwa kama Chief Justice. Tumesikia tumehusishwa kwa kiti kubwa. Tuko na furaha sana kama wamama.
Walking into a judiciary whose relationship with the executive hangs in the balance, they hope she streamlines issues to ensure service delivery to the people.
The president should not use his powers to command the judiciary. The judiciary should be independent, because judiciary iko kivyake, president yako na ofisi yake. Kwa hivyo judiciary Chief Justice awe na mamlaka hata ya kusummon even the president, because the president is not above the law. Kama amefanya makosa, then the judiciary should summon him.
So anaweza shughulikia mambo sana ya kotini. Unaona sasa, okay, kesi mingi sana huwa zinakaa sana kotini. Kama mtu wa chini anakuwa na shida sana, kwa sababu wakati anaoshikwa kwa makosa hii ndogo akipelekwa pale kotini, kesi yake huishughulikiwi. Mtu anaenda anapelekwa pale rumande, anatupwa pale koti yake, na kesi yake nayo inafanya nini? Inasaulika.
The cry for justice for Kenyans has been falling on deaf ears, but now they hope with a female on top, the game is bound to change.
Tukikuwa na mama kama huyu amejitolea asaidie watu kama sisi, akiza kesi zetu zitendeke. Hivyo tu ndio mimi nitaomba.
This being the second time she seeks to be Chief Justice, her efforts and resilience to ascend to the top seat is seen as the step in the right direction in women leadership in the country.
Nasikia vizuri sana, naona esteem yetu iko high sasa. Wanatuonesha tunaweza kavai for bigger seats. Wanatuonesha tunaweza kafanya vitu bigger than whatever walikuwa nadhania tuwezifanya before.
Beating off competition from 9 other candidates, including judges, prominent lawyers and law scholars, Martha Koome is set to become Kenya's first female Chief Justice if Parliament approves her appointment. For Look Up TV, I am Brian Amwai.
And as we continue, we have a myriad of issues to talk about. There's also BBI, special seating in Parliament, as well as COVID-19 and the flight from India that jetted down in Kenya. That and more right here on the Week in Focus. With me on set is Joan Minor, right next to me, who is a political scientist. And on the far end, Enoch Sitati, who is a youth rep, Trans Nzoia County. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Let's have this conversation. So, Chief Justice Martha Koome has been nominated for Chief Justice by the Judicial Service Commission. We have seen them for the last 2 weeks vetting 10 contenders for that seat. Do you think they settled for the right person?
For me, let me say it was a shock to see Justice Martha Koome name come out. That is on one side. On the other side, it was not a surprise, because the 2 main contenders for that position were Justice William Ouko, the President of the Court of Appeal, and lawyer and senior counsel Fred Gatia. That is from the public view. However, in an interview, there are so many things that play in parts. And Lady Justice Martha Koome is a qualified judge, a qualified litigator with more than 30 years of experience. And therefore, when she went for the interview, and early last year I had written about who will replace Maraga. And in that, because there were 6 people, she was one of them. And so when no judge from the Supreme Court applied for that position, and here it came that Fred Gatia was seen as a pro-Uhuru candidate. So maybe the JSC tried to balance the politics of both the legal and the national, and maybe just Mother Koome may do us better than Maragani Mutunga. But on the issue of qualification, she has all the qualification. She deserves it. And it's a good history for the Kenyans, because we have been talking about the issue of two-third gender rule. Now, if she's confirmed by Parliament, we will be having 3 women and 4 gentlemen. But so far, I don't even know who will be the next Supreme Court judge, because we have vetting starting, I think, on the 24th, which means it may emerge maybe a woman again, and that will mean that we have already met the two-third gender rule in the Supreme Court, which is a very key indicator as per the Women Political Leadership Index.
That's where it starts, as it now boils down to Parliament and every other thing.
Yeah, in Parliament, I think just Mother Koome is just sailing through. I don't see any block for her from being appointed by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Maybe it can even happen as early as next week, Wednesday. It all depends on the plans of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee.
Okay, and we've seen the opinion of many Kenyans on the report by Brian, and Kenyans have different opinions. Are they ready for a woman for the position of Chief Justice? What are your thoughts? Enoch?
Thank you. I may say that it's like a revolution, because as a member or a youth who is always on the forefront championing the rights of the women, I think she deserves the post. When you check on, she has 35 years of experience. She has the qualities. She has been she was the chair lady of FIDA. She campaigned all through, sailed all through. And you know, justice, when you check on matters to do with the law, many people are always sidelining women. They think that men are more vibrant, you know, sort of things, and they should be given priorities. But I want to thank Olive Mugenda, Professor, for nominating her as the Chief Justice. And I want to say, however, there are some key issues that Kenyans must understand. And that is why you see there are very many myriad issues coming up that, oh, we don't want the Chief Justice, oh, she's a lady. When you check on the committee, the JSC committee that was appointed to
conduct the
interviews, when you check on it, you will see that 3 of the committee members were directly appointed by the president. That is the AG, who is the advisor to the president, and the 2 from the public service. The chair even was Olive Mugenda from the public service. So they had an added advantage already. So when Kenyans are complaining out here that, we wanted, it was William Mauko who won, it was Fred Ngatia. Yes, to my thought, I believe that the GSC and the deep state, if I may use the word the deep state, they had an added advantage. So you see, when you have 3 already members, you listen to the president who has placed you there. So that is my point on matters to do with her appointment.
Okay, and there are a number of Kenyans who have a chauvinistic point of view, and they have voiced opinions on social media, on Twitter and Facebook, saying that if a woman takes this, then we are doomed as men. While we've had 2 chief justices who are men, and the women didn't have anything bad to say about it. What are your thoughts?
For me, the issue of Chief Justice being a woman is not really a big issue. But however, men have never been ready for a lady to lead them. You can see how it happened in America in 2016, where it was Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton. We came to Kenya in 2016, the same year, during the JC vetting process, where Mother Koome still applied to become the CJ. There was the DCJ Philomena Mwilu and others, including Rosie Nambuye, but they were not given the opportunity. So the reactions by men and other Kenyans that she is a lady, the DCJ is a lady, so our opportunities are a bit lowered or they are hidden. Is in our patriarchal nature of society. So it will take time for that to sink into the minds of Kenyans, that we can have a CJ who is a woman, and we can have a DCJ who is a
lady as well. And do you think there's a dilemma right there? Because much as we want a representation of women to be increased, because as you said again, the patronage of the kind of society is very patriarchal, the Kenyan society. But at the same time, we want a quality leader, we want a quality Chief Justice who's going to handle court cases that are stalling. There are so many things to be sorted out in the judiciary. So do you think there's a dilemma? We want a woman representation and we also want a quality leader. Yes, Enoch?
On my view and the views of Kenyans outside there, I want to say that if we view the nomination of Lady Mother Justice Koome on the basis of having achieving the two-third gender role, then we are missing it. Let us put ideas, put our minds basing on merit. And on the view of judiciary is an independent body. We all know that it's an independent body. So the one who is to chair the judiciary as the Chief Justice must be having an independent mind, not to listen to any other person, but to have his own mind based on the cases that are forwarded to her or him. So why Kenyans are saying that maybe Lady Mother Justice Koome may not deliver, I think it's based on the key issues that women in the society are perceived to be people who listen to. You see, even in a marriage setup, women tend to listen to their husband first before they do or conduct anything. So in matters to do with the Chief Justice position, also people think that Lady Mother Justice Koome will be listening to the voice of
She'll be consulting.
Yeah, she will be consulting. If maybe, let's say, 2022 is here, the elections are here, maybe if, and God forbid, maybe if it happens again that we go back like in 2017 where there was a repeat of the elections, you may find out that people will start saying, if she rules out, basing on any rule that she will give out, people will say she ruled out because so and so talked to her.
Okay, and you want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the position of the Chief Justice does not just require academic qualification. It does not just require being a good judge. There's an article by Professor Makau Mutua that he said Maraga was a good judge but a bad politician. In that sense, Justice Mother Koome must be both. Must be a good judge and a good politician. By being a good politician, she must understand that judiciary is independent but interdependent with the executive and the legislature. So, any functioning of the judiciary can only be effective if there is coordination of the three arms of government. The President of the Supreme Court, who is the Chief Justice, the President of the country, who is also the Chair of the National Cabinet, and the Speakers of the Parliament and the parliamentarians. Because if you want money, where does this money come from? It comes from the executive. If you want this money to be approved, who approves this money? It is the Parliament. Then, when there's an issue in Parliament that has an impasse, or I have a case, how do I take my case to the court? So there's that appeal process to the Supreme Court. So the Chief Justice must not just be independent on her own, but she needs to have a team that has both what Justice William Ouko ruled sometimes back with others, that you need to have a purposive approach to each case that comes on the table.
Okay. And we saw the whole process, the interviews, because they were live across many media houses, across many channels. And the process was grilling. It was there for every Kenyan to see. So Kenyans, even on their own, vetted, just depending on how the questions were going. And we saw even very many funny moments with Justice Chitembwe and many others. And now we have renowned lawyer Fred Ngatia dismissing the results, saying that the results, the scores were altered. So is there a possibility that the process was flawed? Yes, Enoch.
Yes, to my extent, I think, and as I had said earlier, I think the whole process was, let me say, it was not taken on the basis of how those guys, how those judges presented themselves. Because if you check on the interview, Fred Ngatia, William Ouko, Justice Marete, they represented themselves very well. They shared their history, they shared their experience, they shared how they have mastered the law, they shared their views and how they will act as if at all point they were appointed as the Chief Justice. So when you check on them, I believe either one of the three could be vetted in or could be nominated in as the Chief Justice. But because, as I had said earlier, they had an added advantage of the three committee members who were present and they were listening to their advisor, who is the head of state.
So you think in a way they were pressured to nominate Justice Koome?
Yes, in my way, the deep state wanted Fred Ngatia because we all know Fred Ngatia was the representative lawyer for Uhuru Kenyatta for a very long time. But now the fact that Kenyans had already knew, and it was trending on Twitter, it was trending on all media houses, that Kenyans already know it's Fred Ngatia, and they had said, we know what you people want to put into us, we know it's Fred Ngatia, why waste the government money on interviewing people? So I think they came up with an idea of maybe saying that let us sideline and slaughter our very own friend Ngatia and place a lady, so that when you place a lady, people will praise up, thinking that we are achieving the 2/3 gender rule. But in any case or in any chance, we are achieving our own goals and maybe benefits and things like that.
Maina, you wanted to weigh in on the same.
For me, I don't think it's an issue of the deep state. You know, in politics, we say there's no coincidence. And so, Fred Ngatia, when he complained about the results being altered, for a person who has done research, will understand that it can be true. This is not any common Kenyan who's talking.
Yeah.
This is a man with more than 41 years of
experience
in the legal field. But maybe Ngatia was made to apply for this position to distract the attention. Because assume Ngatia and Ouko did not apply. So who would have been the front runner? In my opinion, there was Lady Justice Martha Koome, Justice Duma Deri. That is my analysis of the judges who were presented themselves there, and maybe Professor Kameri Bote. So 3. But now with the Ngatia and Ouko there, everything was at a deadlock. Oh no, at a blackout. Because for me, I never saw Ngatia becoming a CJ, but I saw Ouko becoming a CJ. And when the name came, actually I remember I was in my house, and then the name came of Martha Koome. I was like, how many marks did Ouko score? And then here Professor Olive Mugenda is saying it is a unanimous decision.
Yeah.
In an interview, the unanimous decision can only be proved by results, which Professor Olive Mugenda understands very well.
So Kenyans want a marking scheme to know how those calls were made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like now, if when the retired Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga was nominated, we were given the scores.
The whole schools.
From Maraga to Smoky Nwangela to Makao Mutua to Rosina Mbui and all the rest. So it would have been and it should be a good idea for Professor Olive Mugenda and her team to just share with Kenyans the results, so that for those people who believe in Gatia's idea that I was robbed.
Or is he just a sole loser? Because we know how even elections in this country go.
Yeah.
So such that when people, the results don't go in favor, then it was stolen.
It may be, but for me it seems Gatia was passionate about this deal. He was not, as although I said it may have been a plan, it seems he was bitter for losing these seats. Because I have not heard Justice William Ouko complain, but maybe William Ouko is having a solace in the sense that when they come to interview for the judge of the Supreme Court, he will have
Upper hand.
There's a good chance.
Yes. Because I don't think Gatia will be in the interview. I have not looked at it, but I know William Ouko is in the list. And so maybe he is having a solace. But for Gatia, maybe it is like, it is done.
Do or die.
Yes.
Let me just add on him. The whole process, why should they not, Olive Mugenda professor, why should she not give us the list of the performance on how every candidate performed? That is one key thing. Number two, if you check on Twitter, it was on before the day that the professor released the results that Mother Koome, she has been nominated. On the various night on Twitter, if you are on Twitter, you could see these UDA guys from the William Ruto bandwagon staging that we already have the results. They even went further and posted the marks. They said that William Ouko won, but he was slaughtered and taken to a, let's say, kangaroo court, and he was the grades were based on matters to do with tribe. Because if you check, Mount Kenya region is now heading everywhere. The whole part of the executive, it's only the Senate that maybe the lawyers we are representing. And if you could check on Twitter, guys were making fun that we, the people from the Western and these other tribes, let us go and focus on being head coach for football and maybe rugby and leave alone these offices for the big fish.
So I think that calls for integrity in our systems. So will Kenyans ever be at a place where they trust their government, they trust their judicial system?
I remember a day before Gatia was interviewed, I was talking to my colleague at the University of Nairobi. He is my former student, comrade, but he has graduated with his master's. So we were chatting about who will be the next CJ. And so we were saying Ouko has the highest chance. But then the issue of region came into place.
Yeah.
Maraga was from where? From Nyanza. So is there any person from Western in that list?
No.
There wasn't.
Yeah,
right?
there is this one guy, he was called who? There is one.
Just proceed.
Now, if there was one, then we were looking at, will they pick Professor Kameri Bote? We argued she was an outsider. And so maybe those people in the judiciary may not want an outsider to come and be their boss. And therefore, we came to the agreement with my friend that this thing, it will go to the mountain, but they will say this person is from the mountain, not from Central. Are you getting the connection? From the mountain,
Not to
from
the Central.
Central. And we never knew it will come to this because for us, everything was between Gatia and Ouko. But what has come to pass is that it is the mountain and not central.
So again, the issue of our communities again comes into play.
Yeah, it comes in.
Okay, and well, I wanted to take a break, but before that, maybe just pose one last question. Martha Koome comes in after Chief Justice David Maraga, who people have a lot to say about David Maraga. His highlight moment was the cancellation of the 2017 general elections, and he also complained so much of the frustration that the judiciary was facing from allocation of resources to a lot of involvement of the government in the judiciary because it's supposed to be independent, but there was a lot of politics. So what next for Martha Koome, even as she's gonna be the next Chief Justice?
So maybe if I give my view on the matters to do with Maraga, Uhuru, Martha Koome and the executive, I think if there is any time that the executive, that is the body that is led from the State House, and the presidency now, and the judiciary, if there is any time they are going to be together, then it's this time. Simply because these people are, they agree to one another. Let's not talk about the tribes, but they will agree on one another, basing on the gender, you know. She is a she. So basically let us just put it on a view that they will agree on one another, they will have same thoughts.
Okay.
When you check on Maraga and Uhuru, maybe the disagreement was brought about through his ruling that he cancelled out the 2017.
That's where the bitterness came from.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Mine very shortly.
Yes. So my take is that the issue between Uhuru and Maraga was very simple. It was political.
Yeah.
Their chemistry could not work. So will it work for Martha Koome? I don't think so. Because if you want an independent judiciary, you cannot go to bed with the executive. And therefore, they may say it is you are bridging the gender parity. And Martha Koome may turn out to be tougher than Maraga. We need an independent judiciary. So for her giving everything in because of the executive, I don't think it will happen.
Okay.
Because, as I finish, the key argument between Maraga and Uhuru was the disobedience of court orders.
Yeah.
And will Martha Koome sit there as the Chief Justice and see court orders being disobeyed by the executive? I don't think so.
Okay, and she seems to be a powerhouse and an iron woman, so we'll just see how it goes. We are taking a short break here on the Weekend Focus, but do stay with us. There's a lot more. Don't go too far. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching the Week in Focus right here on Look Up TV. And today on the show, we are talking matters Judicial Service Commission having nominated Justice Koome as the next Chief Justice. And of course, the BBI divide, the special seating in Parliament. This week with me on set is John Minor, who is a political scientist, right next to me, and on the far end, Enoch Sitati, who is a youth rep for Trans-Nzoia County. And just before the break, we were talking about the Chief Justice, potential Chief Justice, Martha Koome. But now I want us to focus a little bit more the BBI, the special seating that has been on this week, and a lot has gone down. The issue that has come across majorly is the constituencies. The new introduction of the 70 constituencies. And we've seen people from Mount Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, say that Mount Kenya has been shortchanged. What are your thoughts on it?
In this VBI, to start with, the key aim that we came to the hardship was because of our electoral mismanagement. Now, we moved from hardship to BBI, and we called it from a nation of blood ties, and I don't know, to a nation of
bridging gaps.
Bridging those gaps, yeah. But now in this BBI, which have 3 versions, you're not even sure which is the best version now, or which is the one that we will vote if it goes to the referendum. But on the question you have asked, this is a political process. It is a matter of give and take. And therefore, from the 70 constituencies, when the president went to Sagana, he had a clear agenda, a clear cut in the bag, that you people from Mount, this is what is your BBI. And there's nothing good for a politician than having a new constituency or a new ward, a new county. It means that he has few competitors. For Rogo Kangata, who comes from Muranga and who was an MP for Kiharu, which is a very huge constituency, he will be at ease together with his former employee, now the MP for Kiharu, Rudi Nyoro, to have Kiharu split into 2, maybe Kiharu and Mugair, so that they also don't have that much competition. The same will happen for the Kashagwa in Madeira. The same can happen for the MP for Roiro. Now, in this thing, there were mamas within the BBI team from the side of the Honorable Prime Minister that how comes that the Central got all these seats, and yet in our counties and constituencies which have many people, we don't have them. So what is happening now, the heated debate about the number of constituencies, and again, who has the mandate to delineate these constituencies, is a key issue, and I think it will continue until they have their vote. And it will not even end there, because if we go for a referendum, they are most likely going to push this agenda to the people, that either reject it because we want to get a new constituency, or vote for it so that we get a new constituency.
On the BBI, I will start by saying that the special sitting was untimely and it's a mockery to Kenyans. Why should I say it's mockery to Kenyans? Currently, we have very serious issues that we as a country and the leaders outside there could focus on. We have the people have been locked down, their businesses have been shut down, coronavirus is currently spreading high. So those are the key issues that the government could at first focus on before going to the BBI. But however, the parliament, as it is in the 2010 constitution, it has the legislative authority to amend the bill or to amend any proposal, you know. So on matters to do with the amendment of certain proposal on the BBI document, the 70 constituencies, let me put it clearly to many Kenyans outside there. The 70 constituencies are will be brought into as a constituency by virtue of the number of population, you know. But people outside there, like the good senator from Irun Kangata, yesterday he was claiming that Mount Kenya, they are not focusing on them. Why? And they want to focus on people like Bungoma, they are focusing on Kisii, they are focusing on Trans Nzoia. Let me stage a case in Trans Nzoia. Trans Nzoia, we have 5 constituencies. That is Endebess constituency, Cherangani, Kiminini, and Kwanza. But when you check on this constituency, the number of population in Cherangani constituency and Kiminini constituency, it's very high. It doubles up the number of people who are in Endebess constituency. That is why they want to increase and bring about a new constituency in Kiminini and another one in Cherangani. That is why to do with the 70 constituencies. But again, there is this question: who has the mandate to bring about the boundaries and say that this now is a new constituency that we must set up? It's in the 2010 constitution. In the 2010 constitution, it's the IEBC that was mandated as a body, as an independent body, to give out the boundaries and set out that this is a new constitution, this is a new constituency, let us give, it will start here, it will end there. But now these people are just coming up with a document people who are picked from nowhere, saying that now Bungoma will have 3, Endebess will have, you see?
Okay, now the big question will be, can the parliament now amend that bill based on the 70 constituencies that IBC is mandated to create the boundaries?
Okay,
does the parliament have the power to amend the same?
Yes, the parliament, it has the legislative authority. So it can amend any bill, you see. So on my view, the BBI document, even I think Kenyans should just prepare for the referendum, because when you check on the majority are from the government side, the deep state. And when I talk about the deep state and the government side, I'm talking about Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and they normally call him that his brother, Right President Uhuru Kenyatta. So these two guys, when you check on the National Assembly, they have numbers. When you check on the Senate, they have numbers. So whether people like Irungu Kangata, Murkomen, Aaron Cheriot, Samson Cherargei will like it or not, the document will still pass. So it's not a subject that they should be bargaining about whether to amend, whether not to amend. And if you could listen to Otenda Amolo yesterday, he said that a constitution can be unconstitutionally amended. You see?
Okay. And given the timing, do we think we're supposed to be going for a referendum possibly by June?
Yeah.
But given the timing now that the bill is still in Parliament and there's a lot of contention and errors that were made, and only 12 counties got the right bill. So what do you think about the timing? How soon are we possibly going to go for the referendum or not?
Okay, before I answer that, I want to go back to the issue of whether the Parliament can amend the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. This is a popular initiative, and it is anchored in Article 255, 256, and 257. And Article 257 is very clear. A popular initiative bill cannot be amended by the County Assembly and by the Senate and the National Assembly. That means the National Assembly and the Senate, they may debate and debate and debate, but at the end of the day, they will only vote. Amending that document means that the whole process have to restart of collecting the 1 million signature, taking the bill to the IBC, taking the bill to the County Assembly, and bringing it back to the National Assembly and the Senate, which I don't think the proposers of the BBI and the referendum push are ready for that. So they will not change that bill. That is one area. Now, on the issue of the referendum, are we going to have a referendum or not? The referendum will happen. Because even if the parliament today, they oppose that bill, all of them, the president also cannot sign the bill. The president can only forward it to the IBC, which now the IBC will have to look for a team of legal experts to frame the referendum question, which it is, as per the constitution, is a no or a yes. There are also who are saying it should be a multi-choice referendum question, which is a good, but which will be very, what can I say? It will be very difficult for a common man to just choose, read every sentence and tick. For us who have gone to school, you can read and tick and say this is okay. But imagine like 18 million Kenyans, all of them reading, it will be a lot. So for the referendum, it will happen, but for the dates, we are behind. Because here there's another thing that will take into place. Immediately when we reach August, and there's no referendum, the politics of 2022 succession are taking place naturally. Some MPs will now resign officially from their political parties to form new ones or to join new ones. So the politics of alliances will not satisfy, because the Constitution says, no, the Election Act says, the Election Act says that an MP cannot be recalled with the 1 year to the elections, no, 2 years to the elections, and again, he or she has the power to join a new party 12 months to the elections. So from August to August, it will be 12 months. So there are those people who are in Jubilee, and they are there, and they pretend to support the BBI because right now there are consequences. But from August, there will be no consequences.
It will be the risk for
yes. For those in ODM, for those in other parties, now it will be very difficult to bring these people on the board and continue for a referendum. That is why you see Kemunya, Pogisio, Orengo, Badi, and the rest. They are really pushing for this thing to be fast-tracked so that before we reach August, we have a referendum.
Okay, and the majority of county assemblies, they voted for the bill was passed. So why now in Parliament we have the divide?
If I can go first, on my idea is that Parliament was sidelined in the entire process. This thing was done by a team that was appointed by the president, the prime minister, the deputy president had his team there, but the role of the Parliament was not put where it should be. What we needed was a committee of experts, but then it was driven by people depending on which political divide you are. And that's why we have so many versions of the BBI. Now, the question you are asking now, I had asked it on Facebook. Why should Parliament amend this thing and the County Assembly could not amend? But as per Article 257, even if the Parliament, no matter how they feel aggrieved, they cannot attempt to amend. And if they do, people will go to court. And remember, we still have around five court cases which are still ongoing, which they have been consolidated, which again, if another person goes to court, we will now delay the entire process of the referendum, and it may not happen. And I don't think the BBI proponents, I said it before, they are ready for that war. They want the judges to rule, they want the Parliament to vote how they will vote, they take to the IBC, and then we go for the referendum, because that is the goal.
Maybe to add...
members of Parliament now, what is the difference? Because they are representing interests of similar people. So why the divide right now?
You know, it's sort of like in a setup in a school. You find in a school there is always the office of the president and the office of the class rep. So these MCAs, members of county assemblies, in my view, I can take them as class reps. Then the MPs and the senators, they are the big fish now. They are the presidents. So when you check on even as he had said on the team of experts, yes, that team was just handpicked on matters to do with who do you know, who are you related to, where have you worked before, you know. So there was not sort of merit on the picking of those experts. So these all hula-baloo games, the errors they are bringing about, it was brought by them on the first stage. So the JLAC committee, you know, before presenting a document in Parliament or a bill in Parliament, you must come up with concrete arguments or concrete, let me say, concrete, how can I put it? Let me use, you must support yourself. And as you know, if you check on the Senate, they normally call themselves as a house of record. So you cannot just stand up and talk about anything if you have not researched. So that is why the JLAC committee, and you saw the chair, Morgan, was carrying a very huge document, because they went into it, deeper into it, to research about what the MCAs had already voted in. So when they were checking on the document, it had some errors, and if you listen, Senator Omogeni just so it was to tell the members in the Parliament that yes, indeed, there are some errors in this document, but it's not all the document that should be considered. The errors in the document which people are into were the 70 constituency, the matters to do with the ombudsman, and maybe the independence of the judiciary, nothing more. Those are the only key issues that the proposals that the jailer committee came up with, and they should be looked into. So the way he has said in Article 257 of the Constitution, the Parliament, yes, cannot amend the Constitution. And he has said that we cannot go to referendum because many people might go to court. Like the likes of Okio Mtata, they like going to courts to every case. But I want to challenge him. Even in this, the nomination of the CJ that just happened recently, when you check, there was a court rule about the legality of the GSC committees. But what happened? They proceeded on. Professor Olive Mugenda is well known for ignoring court rules. And he proceeded on, she proceeded on, voted it, and they already give out as a name for the nominee of the Chief Justice. So court rules in Kenya, it's sort of, I can say it's a non-issue now. Currently, it's a non-issue.
For the issue of the Chief Justice, it was not, they not just move on. They filed an appeal at the Court of Appeal at a certificate of urgency. And the president of the Court of Appeal considered a bench that had the matter and dispensed the matter and said let the study the orders of the High Court. And therefore, the JSC was legally proceeding. There was a legal process. There were petitioners, there were stay orders, then there was an appeal that vacated the same stay orders.
The same way it will happen to the BBI document.
No,
maybe if there will be court orders, definitely, yes. Okay, thank you.
So, looking at Building Bridges Initiative Bill of 2020 and the possible referendum, there are very many people who are looking to launch their bid for different political and elective positions. But now some people are confused. You want to be a member of parliament, but you don't know the constituency just as of yet. So is the whole BBI process stalling the campaigns for the 2022 elections?
Yes and no. Yes, because for the presidential candidates, first of all, this BBI is very crucial, especially the 5 positions. Because how does William Ruto convince the mountain, I will give you the prime minister position, allow me to give the deputy president position to the western, allow me to give the deputy prime minister 1 to coast, allow me to give the deputy prime minister 2 to the north. Then the same case happens for Raila Odinga. Where will he get the deputy? And where will he get the prime minister and the 2 deputy prime ministers? Now, it is starting the presidential campaigns for all of them. Because when you start campaigning, let's be honest here, we are a tribal country. And you only come to the table with what you have. So, William Ruto says we are hustlers. True. But when it goes to the negotiation table, it is how many votes can you bring from the mountain? How many can you bring from the south? And therefore, for the BBI here, it is actually putting Raila Odinga and William Ruto at a very fixed corner. For the MPs again, and I can use Kiharu and Madeira. For those who are already in possession, they can campaign that I want to be re-elected in Kiharu and Madeira. But again, there are those who want to vie for 2022. And some of them are waiting to see if they have the 70 constituencies. So it is actually draining their goal. Because some say, I don't have the resources to campaign the entire Madeira constituency. But I have the resources. If Madeira is split into 2, Madeira East and Madeira West, I can go to Madeira West. So it is actually stalling that process. And that the final issue may be about the issue of 2022 elections. It is that the BBI has a lot at stake, even if we look at other positions. Let's look even at the cabinet. When you are the governor and you want to be re-elected, let's use the governor of Kiambu. Yes, Nyoro. He wants to be re-elected. So there's an MCA here. But this person that wants to become a governor, how do you convince him to go and invest as an MCA and then come back and you appoint him as a minister? So it is hindering their negotiating power. But if it passes through the way it is, it will open a lot of campaign trails. But if it fails, again it will close too many it will close for so many people and maybe confine the place for very few.
The BBI document is going to pass, and Kenyans let us prepare for the referendum sooner than yesterday, because just yesterday the speaker said that next week he will gazette a special sitting again for the voting now, because they are already debated. So next week I believe in both the houses they are going to vote in, and yes, we have the results, and maybe we can be back by the dates, or we can pass the dates, but I believe before we reach July, we shall be going to referendum. Yeah.
Okay, now even as we conclude, a little bit about COVID-19. There was a flight from India that jetted down in Kenya. That was on Wednesday. And there was a lot of uproar among different Kenyans because India is now rating with making records of up to 300,000 cases in a day and over 2,000 deaths. So what are your thoughts about that? The government has now banned flights in and out of India. Yes.
So when it comes to COVID-19, there are some diplomatic rules to be followed. So you cannot just ban a flight from India coming to Kenya without a reasonable explanation. And that's why you saw the Cabinet Secretary for Health saying he is banning them, but starting from Saturday, which is the same case the way the UK has done and other countries. So for that flight to come, it was still within the open space. They were allowed. But now what should be worry Kenyans is those people, yes, they came, but did they go for quarantine? So that, and were they tested first of all? So that we see, yes, we have corona, but which COVID-19 strain do they have? Do they have the Indian one, or the South African one, or the Kenyan one, or the UK one? That should be the question. And the ministry should be with the information to tell Kenyans, this flight came, but we tested them, or we put them to a quarantine facility somewhere. That's where they are. But as long as those people are just within us, uproar will continue and will continue, because no one who wants to go to that ICU or HDU room.
Okay, and what are your thoughts, even as the flights are still coming in, people are supposed to get tested before they board the flight. We don't know if they have been tested, but India has a surge of cases and Kenya is still battling the third wave of the virus.
I can say it's ironical. This is ironical in a case that the government itself gave us, you remember the speech that President Uhuru Kenyatta gave out? The sensation of movement within Kiambu, Nairobi, and these other 3 counties, it happened in it was in fact 2 days. Then he later on came through Cyrus Oguna and said that he is extending a little bit for purposes of people who had moved to move. Yes. So it is ironical, because how can you censor our movement, then bring in a flight from a from a country that the cases are very high. So I believe that even they were not tested there, because if you see the current situation in India, those people, there are too many, the population is high, they are facing, they lack oxygen facilities, the test kits are not there because the population and the people, the country is poor, sort of things. So I believe they came in with an idea of we shall come, land, then go to quarantine. But again we see CS Najib Balal receiving them at the airport. So I wonder who bewitched us.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation. We have come to the end of the Weekend Focus right here on Look Up TV. Today on the show, we have been talking about the BBI divided special seating in Parliament. And of course, we've also been talking about the COVID-19 situation with the Indian flight that jetted into Kenya on Wednesday, as well as the potential Chief Justice Martha Koome, who's been nominated by the JSC, and now we are waiting the President's word on the same. Our sign language interpreter for today has been Josephine Oko, and I am Nancy Nalima. Thank you for watching.